A generous fee, a mysterious client. In the dead of night, an engineer is led into the countryside, where darkness hides everything from sight. Is this the beginning of a disaster? How will Sherlock Holmes piece together the fragmentary clues and uncover the conspiracy lurking in the dark?
This is the Retold Files. We condense classic masterpieces so you can still hear a great story in just a fleeting moment. Of all the cases brought to Sherlock Holmes during our years together, only 2 were introduced by myself. One concerned Colonel Warburton's madness, the other, far stranger in its opening and more violent in its close, was the affair of the engineer's thumb. The newspapers later compressed it into a column. They lost, in doing so, the slow dread with which the truth revealed itself. It was in the summer of 1889, not long after my marriage, that the matter came before me. I had just returned to general practice, when, a little before 7 one morning, my maid knocked to say that 2 men from Paddington Station were waiting below. Railway cases are seldom trivial. I dressed at once. Outside my consulting room door, a familiar railway guard stopped me. "I've brought him myself," he whispered. "He wouldn't let anyone else see him. He's safe inside." I entered. A young man sat by the table, quietly dressed, his face pale with controlled agitation. Around one hand a handkerchief was tightly wrapped, dark with blood. He gave his name, Victor Hatherley, hydraulic engineer. He laughed suddenly, too loudly, too long. I stopped him, forced water and brandy on him, and when the fit passed, he held out his hand. Or rather, what remained of it. Where the thumb should have been, there was only a torn red stump. The thumb had been wrenched away at the root. This, he said calmly, was no accident. I dressed the wound. He did not flinch. When I had finished, he insisted on telling his story. He knew the police would doubt it. There was little proof, too little. So I took him to Baker Street. Sherlock Holmes received us as he always did, quietly, without surprise. He fed our visitor, laid him on the sofa, and listened. Hatherley was a struggling engineer. For 2 years he had waited daily in his office for work that never came. Then, one evening, a visitor arrived. Colonel Lysander Stark, a man unnaturally thin, sharp-featured, watchful. He offered 50 guineas for a night's work, absolute secrecy required, travel by the last train, a hydraulic press in need of inspection. Hatherley agreed. At Iford Station, late at night, Stark met him and drove him for over an hour through dark country roads. The carriage windows were frosted. The house they reached was entered directly from the porch, no chance to see its front. Inside, a woman appeared briefly, frightened, whispering urgently, "Go, do not stay. There is no good for you here." Hatherley ignored her. The machine lay upstairs, a massive hydraulic press, far too powerful for the work Stark had described. Hatherley found the fault quickly, a leaking rubber collar. He explained how to repair it. Then, curious, he examined the chamber more closely. The story of Fuller's Earth was false. The floor bore metallic residue, coining residue. He said so. Stark answered by locking the door. The press began to descend. The ceiling, its iron piston, lowered inch by inch. Hatherley screamed, battered the door, felt the weight coming down. He understood exactly how many seconds remained. Then he saw a thin line of light. A concealed panel opened in the wooden wall. He threw himself through it. Behind him the lamp shattered. The press came down. The woman was waiting. She dragged him through corridors and stairs. Voices shouted behind them. At a window she stopped. "It is your only chance." Stark burst in with a lantern and a cleaver. Hatherley dropped from the sill. The blade caught his hand. He fell into the garden below. He ran until blood loss overcame him. At dawn, he awoke by the roadside, close to Iford Station. The house was gone. The people were gone. Only his injury remained. Holmes had been silent throughout. Now he reached for an old newspaper cutting. Another hydraulic engineer, missing, same pattern. Coiners, Holmes said, large scale. The press made amalgam, not bricks. We went to Iford with the police. They were too late. The house was ablaze, the press destroyed, the criminals vanished. North, south, no one could say. They were never found. Among the ruins lay twisted machinery, metals, and one severed human thumb on a windowsill. As we returned to London, Hatherley spoke bitterly. "I have lost my thumb, I have lost my fee. What have I gained?" Holmes smiled faintly. "Experience," he said, "and a story that will last you a lifetime." You've been listening to the Retold Files. Until next time.